Live from Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, California, Sports Channel presents New York Mets baseball. Today, the Mets take on the San Diego Padres. We're in beautiful Southern California. In just a few moments, the Mets take on the Padres. Hello again, everybody. I'm Fran Healy, along with Ralph Kiner and our colleague, Rusty Staub. Today, the Mets have the ace on the mound. And I guess it's good in a rubber game, but the Doc got clobbered his last time out.
Well, it's good for Gooden, I guess. When you got nice weather like this, he likes warm weather to pitch in. He did get clobbered, but you know, his last win was against San Diego, and it was in the game in the fog in New York, which is rather unusual because here in San Diego, you have considerable fog, but today a beautiful day for the ball game. So the doctor ready to go.
You see Charlie O'Brien was down there talking to the doc. Now there's Ed Whitson, who will toe the rubber for the Padres against the doc today. He has been pretty good on the road, but he has struggled here in San Diego.
He hasn't won a game here in San Diego. He's 0-1. That's this year, of course. But on the road, when you get back to New York, he didn't like pitching for the Yankees in New York either.
No.
I don't know whether he's found a home yet.
And of course, in the Met lineup, I should say, not in the Met lineup today, is one of the stars from last night's ball game, Hubie Brooks.
Hubie with a grand slam home run last night to put the Mets on top by a score of 6-1. Daryl Boston, the left-hand batter, going in this ball game. You know, the game has changed considerably, Fran, when you're a cleanup hitter and you're a big hitter and having a grand slam home run and not playing the next day. That's a different ball game.
Okay, Ralph, and as we mentioned, a beautiful day here in San Diego. The fans are out here working on those suntans. We'll keep you posted all afternoon about those, especially those suntans, but we'll be back right after this. Well, on a sun-drenched day here in San Diego, the Mets will feature this lineup. Leading off in center field, Vince Coleman. He'll be followed by the third baseman, Greg Jeffries, and then the first baseman, Dave Magadan. The middle three, Howard Johnson at shortstop. In left field, Kevin McReynolds. And out in right field, replacing Hubie Brooks this afternoon, Daryl Boston. The bottom three, second baseman, Tommy Herr, the catcher, Charlie O'Brien, and the doctor on the mound.
And Ed Whitson will be working for the Padres. He has a record of 2-3 this year. No victories, no losses to the Mets, an earned run average of 3.88. This will be his 8th game start, his one complete game so far this year. He has not won here at Jack Murphy Stadium, and he has worked 48 2/3 innings. And the first pitch is taken by Vince Coleman. It's ball one. Coleman hitting .233, has no home runs, 6 runs batted in. He leads the major leagues in stolen bases with 21. And the fastball is inside, so the count 2-0. Coleman on this road trip with just 3 hits and 20 at-bats. But he has hit Woodson well throughout his major league career, hitting .371 against him with 13 base hits. And a bunt attempt, it's a beauty. That'll be a base hit. So Coleman with a perfect bunt for a base hit, and the Mets have the leadoff batter in the ball game on first.
Well, this is, as Ralph mentioned, a perfect bunt. If Coleman puts it down like this every time, he's going to bat .500. And another look at this bunt. Squares puts the ball. Boy, he deadened that ball, didn't he, Ralph?
Boy, that's just perfect. Good play by the catcher to make it close.
Yes. Catcher in today's ball game, Tom Lampkin, giving Benito Santiago a rest. I wonder if that played a part in Vince Coleman bunting the ball. Santiago, of course, a guy that can get out there in a hurry with that great arm.
I think that bunt was a base hit against any catcher. He really put down a beauty there as he draws the throw at first. Coleman leading the league in stolen bases with 21. And he draws another throw. Lampkin, a good throwing arm.
He better have a good throwing arm. He's a fine catcher. In fact, he's in the big leagues. He's the ideal backup catcher for a guy like Santiago because he's a good defensive player with a good throwing arm and really doesn't hit for very much. Never did wherever he played in the minor leagues, and very little power.
Another one over to first base. He's thrown out 47% of the base runners attempting to steal against him in his short time in the major leagues. Was in 26 games for the Padres last year. Coleman not too big a lead at first, doesn't go, and the pitch is taken by Tommy Herr, a called strike. Should say by Jeffries, a called strike. Jeffries hitting second in the lineup today, with Herr moved down to the 7th position in the batting order. Jeffries hitting .220 in the year, no home runs, 9 runs batted in. Just can't get used to Jeffries as a second place hitter when you got Tommy Herr in the batting order. It just doesn't make sense.
Plus you got Jeffries. He's going to have to be patient, and it's against his personality to be patient. He's a very aggressive hitter. As we saw, he just took 1 strike, and a lot of, as I try for Coleman again, a lot of second place hitters, the real good ones, sometimes have to take 2 strikes. You don't want a guy like Jeffries taking 2 strikes.
That's the whole point of it. You got Jeffries, a power type hitter, an extra base hitter, in the 2nd spot, where Tommy Herr, and there's a pitch out, but Coleman not running, is not a power hitter and a very experienced second place hitter in the batting order. But you can't argue this argument with Buddy Harrelson. He's adamant about the fact that Jeffries should be hitting second. There goes a fake on a break, and the pitch is outside. 2 balls and 1 strike, and now an ideal count to be running, 2-1.
And on the other hand, an ideal count to be hitting.
And a good hitting count. There's no doubt about it. There's Buddy Harrelson, and of course, who gets the last say as to who bats where? Buddy Harrelson.
I tell you, Buddy has made some. It's tough to manage, and real tough in New York. The other night, while broadcasting here on Sports Channel, we saw a number of players very unhappy.
Well, we got people like you and me second guessing this move. Ball hit to the shortstop. That'll be a routine double play as Jeffries grounds into the DP. Well, the Padres lead the National League in making double plays. They made 32.
Well, here it is. Fernandez over by second base, covering for the throw, and the ball was hit right at him. He makes the easy double play.
Well, you certainly can't hit the ball up the middle when you got the hit and run on. As you know, somebody's going to be closing the gap covering second base. You have to go to the vacated position. And the pitch now to Dave Magadan. It's in for a called strike. Magadan hitting .221, no home runs, 10 runs batted in. Magadan with the highest lifetime batting average for any Mets player in their history. He has a lifetime average of .299, 2 points higher than Keith Hernandez, who is second to him now. It's amazing. In 30 years of baseball, the lifetime batting average that tops all Mets players is not even 300. And you look at the other side of the equation. No Mets pitcher has ever pitched a no-hit, no-run game, and they have had some outstanding pitchers. 1-1 pitch, a ball, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike.
That's incredible. And you know, even postscript to the pitching situation. How about David Cone with the only pinch hit for a pitcher?
Only pitcher to ever pitch it and get a base hit. Some weird stats for the Mets, and now they've been around 30 years.
And I mean, you had some pretty good hitting pitchers with the Mets over the years.
Well, Doc Gooden, certainly a good hitting pitcher. David Cone, a good hitting pitcher. Tom Seaver, not bad with the bat. Walt Terrell was an outstanding hitting pitcher.
You know, we were talking about the lineup as Dave Magadan goes down to first base. I mean, Buddy was being second guessed during the winter months about his decisions. That's really getting second guessed.
Season hasn't started. He hasn't put a lineup on the field, and he's second guessed.
Well, it was Buddy's decision to move Coleman to center field. So far, it's been a great move. Coleman has done an outstanding job.
There's Huey Brooks not playing today after a big night last night, a grand slam home run, his 7th in his major league career. So Magadan, the slow runner, on at first base with Howard Johnson coming up, and Howard having an outstanding road trip, and he takes outside for a ball. Incidentally, Magadan's walk is 24th. He now leads the National League in walks. Mets lead the major leagues in walks, 139, with Magadan's walk here in today's game. Johnson hitting .235. And he takes a strike, 1-1.
Talking about Buddy Harrelson, he does not take that lineup lightly. Yesterday, in the morning, I was walking into the coffee shop and saw Buddy. I was talking to him for a moment. He was sitting there with a piece of paper, writing down different lineups that he felt would make the difference.
Howard Johnson. And this ball hit into the left field corner, and it will be a base hit. Maggott into third and holding there, and Johnson continues to really hit the ball on this trip.
By the way, Hojo went back to number 20.
Tried 44, had a good streak of hitting with it, and then switched back to 20.
Well, there it is. He hits the line drive down the left field line. Magadan going all the way to third base on this ball, and Hojo stand-up double. Well, we are told by Jay Horowitz that he went back to number 20 because he was not comfortable with number 44. A lot of moving around with numbers.
Got 44 when David Cohn took number 17, which was Keith Hernandez's old number. And now the batter is Kevin McReynolds, and he takes a strike. McReynolds hitting .209, 1 home run, 7 runs batted in. Started his major league career with the San Diego Padres. And this pitch hit down the right field side. Tony Gwynn over by the stands. He can't get to it. It goes out of play.
You know, Ralph, talking about numbers on a pennant chase last week, they put together a little feature on John Kruk with the Philadelphia Phillies. I mentioned it to you before. He's had about 5 or 6 numbers, and he said next year, if he's around again, he's going to change his number again. Now, let's say John Kruk goes out and has a magnificent career, and they decide to retire all of his numbers. Can you see the left field fence?
You're going to have to put it in the upper deck. Kruk hitting very well this year with whatever number he's wearing. 322 is his batting average. 25 RBIs. That's tied for second. And a pitch to McReynolds popped up into shallow right field. Going back as the second baseman Ferries. He makes the play, and McReynolds still unable to solve the pitching of Ed Whitson. He's now 5 for 31 against him. That ends the inning. 2 hits, no runs, and 2 men left on base. The score after 1/2 inning, the Mets nothing. The Padres coming up.
Well, let's take a look at the lineup for the Padres. Bip Roberts will lead it off. He'll be followed by Tony Fernandez and then Tony Gwynn. The middle three, Fred McGriff, Thomas Howard, and then Scott Coolbaugh. Tom Lampkin will bat 7th. In the 8th slot, Paul Ferries, and Ed Whitson will bat 9th.
And on the mound for the Mets, Doc Gooden with a record of 3-3. He's 1-0 against the Padres this year. Lifetime 9-4 against them. Earned run average at 2.81. This is his 8th game start. He's had 1 complete game, and the opposition hitting .225 against him. And the first pitch to Bip Roberts is taken for a called strike. Roberts hitting .266. No home runs, 8 runs batted in. Lifetime batting average against the Mets at .303. Against the Doctor, he's had 1 hit in his major league career and 9 at-bats. And he fouls off the fastball. Roberts, one of the best kept secrets in the National League. Hit .309 for the Padres last year. 1 of 3 players to hit .300 or better with at least 40 extra base hits and 40 stolen bases. The other 2 were MVPs last year. And the fastball is taken high. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ricky Henderson and Barry Bonds, the only other players to have a .300 batting average with 40 extra base hits and 40 stolen bases. And that pitch puts the count at 1-2.
One of the reasons the Padres gave for trading Roberto Alomar was to really make room at second base for Bip Roberts. They felt very comfortable they could make the trade because of Bip Roberts. Now Bip has told management he doesn't want to play second base.
He wants to play the outfield.
Yeah.
Ground ball to shortstop. Johnson over to Magadan, 1 away. Yeah, he wants to play the outfield, so he is making his 4th start in center field.
Well, let's take a look at the defense for the Mets. Magadan, Hurd, Johnson, and Jeffries in the infield. Kevin McReynolds, Vince Coleman, and Darrell Boston in the outfield. Charlie O'Brien behind the plate.
And the batter for the Padres, Tony Fernandez. Tony hitting .235 with no home runs, 9 runs batted in. Coming to the Padres from Toronto along with Fred McGriff and Alomar going to Toronto. Roberto Alomar, probably one of the best base stealers in baseball for a man who doesn't run fast.
Roberto Alomar.
Yeah.
They feel Alomar should be the best second baseman in baseball. In fact, the members of the Padres traveling party told me in New York that he should be, without a doubt, the best second baseman in baseball. On the other hand, the Toronto Blue Jays felt that Fernandez was going to be a fixture throughout his career at shortstop in Toronto.
No question about him being a great shortstop defensively. He holds the record for making the fewest errors in the most chances on an average. Better than anybody in the history of the game. Better than Larry Bowa, man, who is second to him. But he's had trouble on grass. He has been, of course, with Toronto where they use artificial turf. Of course, he did play on some grass fields.
But you're a different type of player, when, especially a defensive player like a shortstop, when you start moving off the artificial turf.
He's made 6 errors so far this year for the Padres, which is way above his norm.
He's very quick. He was ideal for the natural, or for the artificial turf. Natural surface, you're going to get bad hops.
One error. I was going to say 1 error for 51 chances, which is the all-time high, or low, whichever way you want to look at it. Fewest errors.
When you look at his talent, if you were scouting, he's quick. He has a strong arm. He can play shortstop.
From San Pedro de Macorís, and he is struck out. So Gooden, who leads the National League in strikeouts, gets his 47th.
They said that Fernandez last season was not himself. A couple times the manager was looking for him as far as hitting or something or playing defense, and he'd be in the clubhouse. Cito Gaston not happy with that. Here's that last fastball right by Fernandez. So I guess they felt the change of scenery would be good for him, and it was an opportunity to pick up Alomar and Carter in that trade.
And now the batter, Tony Gwynn, an outstanding baseball player, and he takes the first pitch for ball 1. Gwynn hitting .323, 1 home run. Got that against the Mets, his first in almost 3/4 of a season. And he bounces this one to the second base side. Tommy Herr, who has not made an error all season long, fields his 129th chance without an error. And on the Toyota scoreboard, it is the Mets nothing and the Padres nothing. Telecast is presented by authority of the New York Mets and is intended for the private non-commercial use of audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Mets, Sterling Doubleday Enterprises, and Sports Channel is prohibited. And we moved now to the top of the second, and the first pitch is taken for strike 1. Darrell Boston playing right field today in place of Hubie Brooks. Boston hitting .206 with no home runs, 2 runs batted in, and the off-speed pitch is swung on and missed. Ed Woodson with a very good palm ball for his changeup. It's been a very good pitcher. He's won 105 games in his major league career while losing 108. And he comes back with a fastball. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I had the opportunity on the pregame show to interview Darrell Boston. I'm impressed at the way Darrell Boston has adjusted to his new role with the Mets.
And there's that palm ball again that's fouled off 1 and 2. But when he was with the White Sox, Fran, he had a label of being very complacent and not unhappy when he wasn't playing.
Well, in the interview, he talked about coming out here and he called it power shagging before a game, trying to stay in shape, take extra hitting.
That's good.
You know how you get tags, Ralph. I mean,
oh, yeah, and they're not always right. In fact, they're wrong most of the time. Once you get them, you're dead. Pop-up, though, fielded by Ferries, and Boston is out.
In baseball, like, you know, Darrell Boston could have probably told a coach in Chicago, I don't feel good, I'm not going to take extra batting practice today, and all of a sudden he has the tag, and it goes with him wherever he travels. So far, we've seen nothing but a guy who wants to play.
No question about that. Last year, an outstanding year for the Mets, and willing and able to play all the time.
You know, Ralph, he even went to Chicago White Sox management to be traded. He went to the front office a few times.
And now the batter, Tommy Herr, who has asked to be traded because he's been relegated to being the second baseman on the Mets. But since he was told that he would not be the regular second baseman, he has played every game.
That's a tag. It's tough to shake.
And there's a pitch that's a ball, 2 balls, no strikes. Her hitting .229, 1 home run, 10 runs batted in. The only Mets player this year to have 4 hits in a ball game. He was tied for the league lead in walks with Magadan and McGriff. But Magadan with a walk in this ball game now leads the league with 24. And a swing and a miss. It's 2-1. Of course, when you talk about tags, Mike Marshall has one.
And
it's for real.
But it's an expensive tag.
Very expensive tag for a guy that doesn't want to play. Or he says he wants to play but can't.
And when he can't, he says he'd like to get traded.
So he can go somewhere else to say he has something wrong with him and he can't play.
You know, there's nothing wrong with wanting to play. The only thing is you hope you don't alienate everybody around you when you demand to play. I mean, you certainly wouldn't want a guy sitting on a bench saying, I'm happy to be here and I'm happy I've got this contract. Of course, the Red Sox said they would allow Marshall to get away if he gave up his contract.
And now Her walks, and he again is tied for the league lead in walks with Dave Magadan as he gets his 24th. Yeah, Mike Marshall is a very strange man and has a lot of ability.
Well, he's got a lot of talent, and when he was with the Mets, Dave Magadan came on. Marshall was injured. He's had that bad back. And, of course, Ralph, you had a bad back at the end of your career, and you can't convince anybody when you have a bad back that it's painful.
Well, it's also something that's very hard to trace.
Yes, it is. But the problem Mike has is when Mike Marshall's not playing, then he alienates everybody around him, and they are always looking to get rid of him.
And he has said he wants to be traded from Boston. They said, we'll give you your release. If that's the case, they don't have to pay him his salary.
Well, that's what they wanted.
There goes the runner, and the throw way off line, and Her is in under the tag as Lampkin is unable to make an accurate throw, and the Mets have a stolen base.
Well, Ralph hit it right in the nose. An accurate throw probably gets Tommy Her, who has stolen a lot of bases throughout his career. Tommy looking at the hitter like it was a hit and run, and he gets in there, and Doug Harvey's explaining why he's safe.
And it was a hit and run play. Her now with 7 stolen bases in 10, make that 9 attempts. This ball, a line drive, base hit into center. Can he score? Here comes Her around second. The throw by Roberts, cut off, and the Mets take the lead 1-0 as O'Brien drives in his 3rd run of the year. Well, the Mets manufacturing that run.
Tommy Her with the stolen base. Here's Charlie O'Brien doing the job, hitting the ball off the end of the bat into center field and driving Tommy Her in. So a big hit for Charlie O'Brien. It's another position with the Mets where they're getting some good production.
And that will bring up the doctor, and here's our Carmel scoop of the week. And Gooden bunts it foul. This is the Carvel icing on the cake. Dwight Gooden's last home run was May 27th, 1990, just about a year ago. And guess who the pitcher was? Ed Woodson. So what do? They have him bunt.
Doc's going to go in and have a meeting with Buddy after the game.
But it's the right play here. A pitch out and nothing on as Her gets back to, should say O'Brien gets back to first base.
If you go into a clubhouse, players do have meetings. They will discuss things with the manager. Ralph, I bet you when you were playing, there were very few meetings.
We tried to stay out of sight of the manager.
It's changed. This managerial position, all of them are tough.
It had to be like Ensign Pulver when I played, boy. For those of you who haven't seen Mr. Roberts, he was aboard ship for about 2 years. Nobody ever saw him. 1 ball, 2 strikes as Gooden now might be swinging away.
You almost have to have a young guy like a Buddy Harrelson to be a manager, because it's a big adjustment. The old timers, I don't think, would adjust real well to young players today.
Yeah, but we would have adjusted very well to the managers today, because in the old days you just couldn't talk to a manager. He had to say. That was a close play at first, but O'Brien back safely as Gooden strikes out trying to bunt, and 2 men away.
Take a look at the attempted bunt. Doc bunting through that pitch. You'll see a lot of attempted pickoffs when a ball is missed on the bunt. If a catcher's aggressive throwing, with a runner on base, when a guy goes through the ball with the bat, the runner automatically takes 2 or 3 steps off the base, 2 or 3 steps more off the base, so the catcher, if he's aggressive, will do a lot of throwing to the bases in that situation.
Little check swing and a foul ball as Vince Coleman bats for the second time. Beat out a bunt his first time up. When you go back to those so-called old days, you never talk to the manager unless he talked to you first.
Yeah, that doesn't happen today.
And a swing and a miss. It's strike 2.
At one time, Ralph, I think they had a lot of older managers.
Most of them were ex-stars.
Yeah, and today they have younger guys managing, maybe because of a stronger stomach.
And a lot of them know without major league experience. And this ball fouled off, and it's out of play.
There are some guys today that will end up coaching in the minor leagues at a very young age, or even managing in the minor leagues at a very young age, never playing the big leagues, never coaching the big leagues, and end up managing in the big leagues.
There's an example right there.
Greg Riddock.
A college professor, and this ball hit on the ground slowly to Ferries, and he shuffles off to Fernandez for the force play that will end the inning. But the Mets pick up a run. They had 1 base hit, and they left 1, and the score on the GE scoreboard at the end of 1.5 innings. The Mets won, and the Padres nothing. Well, there's a break in the action. Ought to be a great time to break for the great taste of Bud Light. It's a big hit with fans everywhere because everything else is just a light. Well, we're going now to the bottom half of the second. The Mets leading 1-0. The leadoff batter will be Fred McGriff, and Gooden starts him off with a curveball. McGriff is 2 for 2 against the doctor, having come over to the National League from Toronto and tearing up the National League. And this ball swung on and fouled back out of play. McGriff, 3rd in the batting race with a .342 average. He's 2nd in home runs with 9. He leads in on-base average at .451. He leads in slugging percentage at .632. He leads in total bases with 74. And he was tied for first in walks with 23. Fred McGriff. And he takes low in the count. 2 balls and 1 strike.
I'm surprised the Blue Jays traded McGriff during the offseason, especially coming off a fine season.
One time McGriff platooned with Cecil Fielder in the same ball club, on the same ball club. If they had platooned last year, their combined records would have been just amazing. Of course, Cecil Fielder with a great home run year, 51 home runs, and that ball grounded to her, who still has not made it.
He hurt himself, Ralph. Sprained his ankle. He might have sprained his ankle, or he's had trouble with his legs. Take a look at this again. Ooh, sprained the ankle.
Certainly turned that ankle. I hope it's not sprained.
Oh boy.
See him try to keep the weight off of it as he comes up with the ball to make the throw. And
we're talking about the natural surface and the artificial turf, and right here with the natural surface, that ground just giving when he was digging the cleat in. It's another thing that really won't happen. I mean, you'll have different types of sprains on the artificial turf, but the dirt just gave when Tommy Herr went over on his ankle. That's a bad break.
All right. Trying to walk it off. Of course, those things get worse as time goes on.
Here it is again. It's an ugly sight right here. Oh. I guess Tommy's going to stay in the ball game.
Mets have Kevin Elster on the disabled list, so they are short-handed. Just got Jeffries off the DL. He's back in the lineup at 3rd.
And nobody turns double play for the Mets any better than Tommy Herr.
I would say he turns it as well, if not better, than anybody in the National League.
Yeah.
That's saying a lot because there's some fine second basemen, but he does have a tremendous way of getting rid of that ball.
It's going to be tough for Buddy to make that move when everybody's healthy, moving Jeffries back to second base and taking Tommy Hearn out of the lineup.
And it's Thomas Howard at the plate, and he takes a fastball for ball one. Howard hitting .214, brought up from the minor leagues. And this one chopped out to the first base side, taken by Gooden. 2 men away.
Looked like an ordinary play right there. Some pitchers don't get that ball.
That's true.
And when they don't get the ball, a guy like Howard has an infield hit. That's how important it is for a pitcher to work on all facets of his game.
That'll bring up Scott Coolbaugh, who played a few games in the major leagues with the Texas Rangers. Batting .385 for the year. He has no home runs, 4 runs batted in. And Gooden misses with a fastball. Attended the University of Texas, signed by the Texas Rangers as their 3rd round selection in the June 1987 draft, and that fastball high for ball 2. Traded to the Padres for catcher Mark Parrott, backup catcher for the Padres for many, many years. That's ball 3. 3 balls, no strikes. Coolbaugh last year for Texas hit 267 games with 2 home runs. He played first for Texas in '89, batted .275 in 25 games with 2 home runs. There's a strike, 3-1.
He's never been a real dominant offensive threat. When you think of a third baseman, you think of a guy who really hammers the baseball, either drives in a lot of runs or hits a lot of home runs. His best production in home run department was back at A-ball.
And the 3-1 pitch fouled off, 3-2. He has a Steve Garvey type look to it.
He does. By the way, he had 18 home runs in Oklahoma City. I should say that's AAA ball.
3-2 pitch. Hit on the ground to the second baseman. No trouble at all. And for the 2nd inning in a row, the Padres go in order. The score at the end of 2, it's the Mets 1, the Padres nothing. The lesson in how to strap a turned ankle as you take a look at Tommy Hearn being worked on by Bob Sykes, the assistant trainer of the New York Mets, trying to keep that ankle as playable as possible. In between innings, as the Mets come up here in the 3rd inning, and the first pitch is called a strike as Greg Jeffries, who hit into a double play, takes for strike 1. Ed Woodson on the mound, and that's strike 2. Jeffries starting the ball game hitting .220. Now at .217 with his 0 for 1. Goes after bad pitch and luckily fouls it, so the count stays at strike 2. Woodson with the Padres last year 14-9, an earned run average of 2.60. 32 game starts. He had 6 complete games and 3 shutouts. Since reacquired by the Padres had him. He went to the Yankees and came back. There's that palm ball, and it's topped out to the first base side, and it goes foul. Since reacquired in 1986, his earned run average and winning percentage has improved in every season. He started out 1-7 with a 5.59 ERA, and then in '86 he was 0-13. 87, 13-11. 88, 16-11. 89, 14-9.
He had a big year the year he played on his option, and the Yankees took a shot and signed him.
This one hit in the hole, fielded by Fernandez. A quick throw to first base, not in time.
Uh-oh, and Jeffries is hurt. You got to be kidding.
What is going on here? As Jeffries apparently turned his ankle.
Well, Jeffries with that real good speed. Right now he doesn't have good speed, but picks up an infield hit. The ball hit right at the shortstop. How about this for an infield hit? Watch Fernandez, who's an outstanding shortstop, but he has to play the ball on his heels. Does not have the luxury of really stepping to throw. Flips the ball at first, and this is a big league infield hit. But because of that long last stride, Jeffries probably jammed his foot. How about that for an infield hit? Did you get many of those, Ralph?
Got an awful lot of them. Not too many, Fred. So Jeffries apparently all right, staying in the ball game, and he is on with no one out, and Dave Magadan, the batter. Mets leading 1-0.
How many times do you see a ball hit directly at the shortstop and the guy beat it out?
And this ball bunted, but bunted foul by Magadan. Strike one. You wonder whether or not he was unable to brace himself for the overhand throw, or was in, as you called it, too far back on his heels to do that, and trying to pick up the out with that underhanded type throw where you get very little on the ball.
Well, they teach the infielders, of course, this guy is one of the best at shortstop. They teach an infielder when the ball's hit at you to charge the ball, no matter how hard the ball's hit. You don't want to get the in-between hop, but you want to be very aggressive charging the ball. You could see Tony going back, and he ended up on his heels. Like I said, nobody does it better at shortstop, so he knows what he's doing, but even the best end up on their heels occasionally.
Jeffries has above average speed going down the line. He runs very well, as a matter of fact. And the pitch back to Magadan is taken outside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
See, that was an example of stretching it out into a single.
That was the true example of a leg hit. And that pitch taken for ball 2. Talking about Ed Woodson, with a winning percentage that has improved in every season since 1986. He's the only major league pitcher to ever do this. He averaged 7.15 innings pitched, the #1 amount in the National League, and this ball hit to deep left center field by Magadan, but a lot of hang time, and Roberts over to make the play. Jeffries back to first, 1 away.
With the bad foot, Jeffries was in motion on that ball that was hit to center field.
Shortstop, Howard Johnson.
That'll bring up Howard Johnson. Howard doubled down the left field line this first time up. He's now 8 for 30 against Woodson. And he grounds the ball foul, strike 1. Johnson, as a left-hand batter, came into this game hitting .311 with 4 home runs. As a right-hand batter, hitting just .170 with 3 home runs. Actually, 5 home runs as a left-hand batter. So he shows an awful lot more power and more consistency from the left-hand side. One ball, 1 strike to count. Jeffries better than average lead at first. And Johnson takes, and it's called a strike. 1-2. The home plate umpire, Tom Hallion. At first base, Gary Darling. The umpire at second, Doug Harvey. And the umpire at third, Jim Quick. Harvey makes his home here in San Diego.
This is a day for bad feet, bad legs. Kevin Mitchell had to leave the game in the 5th inning in San Francisco due to stiffness in his right knee.
And he had sprained his ankle the game before.
Did you see that slide?
Terrible slide.
Oh. Oh, Kevin Mitchell's all right.
And that pitch is taken for a ball, 2-2. Tom Lampkin thought he had a strike there and was looking for the strikeout. Speaking of San Francisco, they are really having a tough time. 10-22 in the year, 7.5 games out. There's a swing and a miss.
Good pitch right there to Howard Johnson. Howard, as Ralph mentioned earlier, really swinging the bat very well. And he's in the groove. He's an outstanding fastball hitter, so you might as well throw him the off-speed pitch. And Whitson does right there. Here's the angle. And Hojo started. He knew it was an off-speed pitch, had to hold up a little bit, and then could not make contact.
So Whitson gets his second strikeout, and with 2 men out, the batter will be Kevin McReynolds. The runner goes, the throw in the dirt, and Jeffries is in there safely. Mets get their second stolen base, and Jeffries picks up his 5th.
His feet are taking a beating. Greg Jeffries, after beating out an infield ground ball to shortstop, gets a big jump, steals his base, and the throw was bounced to second base by Lampkin. You're a backup catcher. They're gonna want you to throw runners out.
So far 0 for 2. And the pitch to McReynolds is a base hit to center field. So for the second time, the Mets use the stolen base to set up the base hit that scores a run, and the Mets lead it by a score of 2-0.
Keep in mind, it all started with Jeffries hitting a ground ball to the shortstop and beating the throw to first base. Here's Kevin McReynolds slapping the ball in the center field, really staying on that pitch right there. Kevin has talked about his problem pulling off the ball, but right there he goes right up the middle. And Jeffries, after stealing second base, scores the run. You really have to hand it to Greg Jeffries manufacturing that run.
The Mets got their other run after a walk and a stolen base by Tommy Herr. Single by O'Brien to drive in Herr, and now the Mets lead it 2-0 with Darrell Boston at the plate. Darrell popped to second his first time up, and he fouls off the fastball, strike 1. Boston hitting an even 200. 7 hits and 35 at bats. 4 start in right field for the Mets this year, and the breaking ball for a ball. 1 ball and 1 strike. McReynolds draws the throw. McReynolds at one time a good base stealer, but as of late he has not been utilizing his ability to surprise teams with a stolen base. That ball, the palm ball, and in the dirt, dug out by Lampkin. 2 balls and 1 strike. McReynolds with 1 stolen base this year in 3 attempts. And this ball is popped up. Playable on the shortstop side. Fernandez shielding from the sun, making the play. That retires the side. But the Mets get 1 run on 2 hits, leave 1. And the score at the end of 2.5 innings, the Mets 2 and the Padres nothing. Nobody beats the Wiz scoreboard. The St. Louis Cardinals defeated Cincinnati by a score of 8-2. Bob Tewksbury, the winning pitcher, the first complete game pitch for the Cardinals this year. Tewksbury now 3-1 in the year. The loser was Browning, his record 4-3. Felix Jose went 4 for 4 in that ball game. Atlanta playing in Chicago, Philadelphia and San Francisco, Pittsburgh and Houston, and Montreal and Los Angeles all later on. And in the American League, California playing the Yankees, Oakland at Baltimore, Chicago playing Boston, Kansas City and Toronto, Seattle and Cleveland, Detroit and Texas, Milwaukee and Minnesota all tonight. Oakland leading by a half game over Seattle. Seattle's won 8 of their last 10. Minnesota in 3rd place, a game and a half in the American League West. And the first pitch by the Doctor has popped up on the shortstop side. Johnson fighting that sun, and Lampkin is out. Lampkin came up to the plate hitting 300. So Johnson makes the play, and that'll bring up Paul Ferries.
Paul Ferries.
Ferries hitting 179. In the American League East, Boston leading Toronto by percentage points and Detroit by 3.5. And Gooden misses with a fastball for ball 1. Pittsburgh leading the Mets by 2 in the National League East. St. Louis by 3 now, as they have won, picked up a half a game. Philadelphia, who has won 3 in a row now, 5 games back of the Pirates. Chicago 5 back, and Montreal 5.5. In the National League West, Atlanta, they've won 7 of their last 10. And the Dodgers in a virtual tie, 4 percentage points different. Atlanta on top. Cincinnati a game and a half back with that loss. San Diego 2 out. Houston 4.5, and San Francisco trailing by 7.5. 2 balls, 1 strike, and the fastball hit down to Magadan. What a play by Magadan, and he gets it over to Gooden, and that keeps the no-hitter going.
Outstanding play by Dave Magadan. Ball hit down the right side. Magadan diving and gloving that ball, flipping over to the doctor. You ever think you'd hear something that Dave Magadan should be kept in the game because of his glove late in the game? Because at one time the Mets felt comfortable taking Dave out of the game because they felt they would put in somebody comparable with the glove.
He has become an outstanding defensive first baseman. And with that play, Ed Woodson the batter, and the first pitch by Gooden, a call strike. Woodson 1 for 17 on the year.
National League now with some pretty good right-handed fielding first baseman.
Galarraga of the Montreal Expos certainly won. He's won the Gold Glove the last 2 years since Keith Hernandez moved into the American League.
At one time, teams would look for left-handed first baseman.
There is a definite advantage to being left-handed playing first.
Yeah, especially on that ball where they have to charge it and go to second base, where the right-hander has to whirl all the way around.
There's a strike call. Gooden gets a strikeout, his second of the ball game. He's retired his first 9 batters in order. And the score at the end of 3 on the Sherwin-Williams scoreboard. The Mets 2 and the Padres nothing. Well, we're going now to the top of the 4th, and a man who reads pitchers as well as anybody that ever played the ball game, Rusty Staub, for the play-by-play.
Thanks, Ralph. Tommy Herr takes ball 1. Mets ahead in this game 2-0. Herr swing and a miss. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mets and the Pods have split the series at Shea Stadium, 1 game apiece. Same thing here in San Diego, but someone will take the edge here on Wednesday afternoon. Swing and a miss again by Tommy Herr. A ball and 2 strikes. Herr walked, stole a base, and scored on a single by Charlie O'Brien. That got the Mets on the scoreboard in the 2nd inning. Whitson working extremely fast. Just inside. Whitson likes to throw the backdoor breaking ball to get ahead of the left-handed hitter. And then once he gets ahead of him, he likes to throw that tailing fastball inside to try to come back and catch the inside part of the plate. So after he had done that, he threw the tailing fastball away. Whitson displaying a excellent changeup. Tommy Herr grounder to his contemporary. Ferries to McGriff, 1 down.
Lamihura running without a limp, so evidently that ankle is okay after he turned it making a fielding play. A little gingerly, though. That tape can help a lot, can it?
Yes, it can. I had to tape for a lot of years, Ralph. We'll talk about that as we go along. Attempted bunt by O'Brien, but it's fouled out of play. Strike one. I had a lot of trouble with my ankles in Houston my first 6 seasons. When I went to Montreal, we started taping every day. And despite the fact that ruined the skin on my feet.
You'd do it for a base hit, though, wouldn't you?
I did it to keep going. It helped tremendously.
It worked for 23 years.
The last, what, 17 anyway.
You taped that long?
17 years worth. Swing and a miss on a breaking ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. When you tape like that in the old days, you tape to the skin so you had a shave. It was very, very tough. You would spray tincture of benzoin on way outside. 2 and 2.
That would match your hair.
Well, you'd put that stickum. It would make the tape stick and supposedly get your skin to be a little tougher. Didn't work too good on me on the making the skin tougher. Speaking of tough, Charlie O'Brien just swung at a tough breaking ball. It was 2nd out.
Well, Charlie, who singled in a run his first time up, goes down swinging at the changeup right there. That's that palm ball. And Whitson picks up his 3rd strikeout.
The doctor pops it up to the infield. It'll be a very quick inning for Ed Whitson. Griff has it. 3 up, 3 down. After 3.5 innings, it's the Mets 2 and the Padres nothing.
Ball sharp enough to be a play-by-play announcer in a Mets broadcast booth. Then enter the Sharp New York Mets Broadcaster of the Day contest. Sharp's going to put 40 lucky winners in a Mets broadcast booth to call a thrilling inning of Mets play-by-play with WFAN's Howie Rose. It's a dream come true for Mets fans. So hustle into your nearest Sharp dealer and enter the Broadcaster of the Day contest, brought to you by the Mets and Sharp Electronics.
Bottom of the 4th inning. The doctor has gone through the first 9 guys in a row. Biff Roberts will lead off. San Diego struggling through a 2-6 homestand. They are getting ready to go on a 10-day road trip. In fact, they will be on the road 17 of the next 24 games. And home cooking has not been good. At least not on this homestand. Gooden gets Roberts to foul it off out of play. Strike 1. Mets also in a situation like that. 22 of 28 games during this one stretch. They're going to be on the road. That one off the mark. 1-1. Biff Roberts gets something in his eye, just flies out of the batter's box. Tom Hallion behind the plate did say timeout. It was kind of a late one. There are bugs all over the stadium. See that one all over his face right there. You can see it right there in the camera. That was amazing.
Come in there. That's right.
Got to get your attention when Gooden's rushing that ball up there about 93 miles an hour.
Well, he did the right thing. He got out of there.
In a hurry, too.
He got out of there in a big hurry.
So what am I doing in here with this bug all over me? Hard shot by Jeffries. Howard Johnson cannot get there. Biff Roberts hit a bullet off Jeffries, ricocheting to Howard Johnson, and they got to give him a hit on that one.
I hope so. He almost decapitated the 3rd baseman. Fastball away, and it's a shot to 3rd. Arrows off to Johnson, who comes up, and his throw is not in time, even though it is offline, and that'll be a base hit in all likelihood.
They have given
the first hit of the game for the Padres.
Jeffries playing in on the grass, trying to keep the bunt away from Bip Roberts. Roberts said, "Take this." Again in on the grass, but Tony Fernandez. There goes Roberts. Fouled off, straight back. And Bip Roberts will return to first base. He got a good jump.
Bip with 8 stolen bases, the club leader. And right here you see the good jump. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, almost 5 steps before the ball was released. Gooden has a good move to first, but his delivery to the plate is slow. That allows the opposition to be successful about 80% of the time against the Doctor.
This time Roberts not going, and O'Brien called a pitch out. As we've said many times, so remember those pitch outs are called from the dugout. Doc Edwards sitting near Buddy Harrelson, and Mel Stottlemyre calls the pitch outs.
How about Mel's son? Boy, he's red hot for Toronto, isn't he? 5 victories. Chip off the old block. His ERA is under 3. Stottlemyre, a great pitcher for the Yankees when the Yankees weren't good.
I'll tell you what he was. He was about as professional a pitcher as ever walked out on the mound. Bip Roberts diving back in. The opposition has to try to take advantage of the slowness of Dwight Gooden's delivery to home plate. It's one of the few weaknesses Doc has.
Most of your power pitchers do have very slow moves to the plate. They use that high leg kick.
Doc stepping off. Bip Roberts, a decent lead. You get past the cut of the infield. His foot's past that just a little bit. That's a good lead. He's not going outside. 2 balls and a strike to Tony Fernandez. As we've said many times, Ralph, the pitcher cannot worry so much about that base runner that he forgets about home plate. That is the most important part. There he goes. High throw to second base by O'Brien's got no chance. Roberts got one heck of a jump. Stolen base number 9 for Bip Roberts.
O'Brien releases the ball very quickly, but it just doesn't get there in time. So the stolen base against the pitcher, Doc Gooden.
Nobody out, a 3-1 count. All 4. So the Doctor in a little bit of trouble here in the bottom of the 4th inning. One of the best hitters in all of baseball coming to the dish in Tony Gwynn.
Gwynn has not had good success against Doc Gooden. He's .946 against him, under 200.
In this kind of a situation, the infield has to be ready for Gwynn to try to dump a ball down the third baseline. He is very proficient bunter.
Those dark glasses that he has on. He's using that shaded lens there. They have a lens that really takes the glare out of the sun.
He is using it.
He doesn't normally wear glasses.
Mets playing it straight away. Breaking ball. Ball 1. Each time Jeffries goes to the mound, says something, gives a sign, tells all the infielders whether the rotation play will be on or not, whether it is a pickoff at second, etc. They're playing it straight. Again outside. After walking Tony Fernandez, Gooden falling behind 2 balls and no strikes. Gwynn at the plate, looking fastball all the way. He is in the driver's seat. Doc move at second. This is what a hitter waits for. A situation where he knows he's going to get a fastball. It's a chopper. It's going to be a tough play. Herr flips. Very fine play by Tommy Herr. Just a flip out of the glove. That looked like it had trouble written all over it. The Mets were very fortunate to get it out there, Ralph.
We have to give a lot of credit to Tommy Herr because Gooden looks like he's going to field it. Herr didn't give up on the ball. He kept charging, got the ball, and then shoveled it off without changing the ball to his throwing hand. And they get the out at first base. Very big play. And a good one by Tommy Herr. That does move the runners up, but to get Gwynn out in that spot, and you're talking about having to count in his favor 2 balls and no strikes. He had it. He got the fastball, but it was a bad pitch. So Gwynn, even though he's a great hitter, made a bad mistake swinging at that ball.
You're right, Ralph. Went after the bad pitch. I'll be surprised if the Mets pitch to McGriff. They have the young hitter, the rookie. In fact, 4 guys that really have not played a great deal in the big leagues. They're going to pitch to him. Very surprised at this move.
Well, the hitters behind him are all minor league ball players.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, Ralph. They got this guy. He was 2 for 2 off Gooden in the first time he faced him. No, Doc got him out the first time up. He is one of the...
He could kill you. He's leading the league in all the big hitting percentages, the power percentages.
Just on the outside corner.
He represents the tying run. Behind him, you've got Thomas Howard, who was brought up from the minors, Scott Coolbaugh, who was brought up from the minors, and Tom Lampkin, who is a 3rd-string catcher. You got 3 guys that are not really competent major league players hitting behind McGriff, who is a bona fide major league hitter.
Well, if Gooden keeps throwing pitches like that, it's not going to make much difference. Tremendous curveball, a 1-2 count.
Now, they do have a thing in the book, if you believe the book, and this is that good curveball. You never put the go-ahead run on base by walking the batter intensely, but that book has been discarded by a lot of managers.
We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. It's a little different. He gets him on strikes, so Gooden wins the battle. Harrelson had gone out and talked to Doc. He said, I want to pitch to him. And McGriff has yet to have a hit in this series.
There are a lot of pitchers who have so much pride they don't want to walk anybody intentionally, and Gooden must be one of them. He has the ability to get anybody out. There's no doubt about it, and he made him a couple of tough pitches.
And on 2nd and 3rd, 2 down, Thomas Howard at the plate. Ball outside. San Diego team came into this game hitting .292 as a unit with men in scoring position. That is excellent. The doctor rearing back on those 2. It is called the overthrow. Catches the outside corner. 2 balls, 1 strike. An incredible day for baseball here in San Diego. Sun's out. It's not too hot. Nice crowd. And a beautiful ballpark. Swing and a miss. Strike 2. We always talk about how the great pitchers, when they get in a jam, can find that little bit extra to get out of it. It is Biff Roberts at 3rd. At 2nd, Tony Fernandez. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Gooden really turns it on. Padres strand 2 in the bottom of the 4th inning. And it's still the Mets 2 and the Padres nothing. We'll be back. leading 2-0. Vince Coleman leads off for New York. Griff almost even with the bag at first. Kuba at third, in on the grass. Ball one. Vince singled his first time up. He bunted an excellent bunt down the third baseline. And then he grounded out 4-6. The fielder's choice. Ball around the zone. 2 balls, no strikes. Mets entering this game hitting .229 as a team. That was 11th. Did he pull it back? Home plate umpire says yes. 3-0.
Only other team hitting worse in the National League, the world's champions,
Cincinnati Redlegs. Strike called. Coleman getting ready to toss that bat around. Tom Hallion said, not yet. Jeffries in the on-deck circle waiting. Coleman fouls it straight back. Coleman has had a little bit of difficulty with the umpires on this trip, particularly in San Francisco. Slapped out of play. Full count. Fans Mets baseball is brought to you by Manufacturers Hanover, where your money has power. Vince Coleman has not displayed any power yet this year. He's not noted for it. He gets the walk. A leadoff walk to the base steal champion of the National League for the past 6 seasons. That cannot make anybody in a San Diego uniform happy.
Third inning. Out of 5, the Mets have had their leadoff batter on base.
Jeffries at the plate. He grounded into a double play his first time up. Then he singled, stole a base, and scored on a single by Kevin McReynolds. That was in the third. Not going. Ball one. Vince Coleman stole 11 bases in April. He's got 10 already in May. .21 stolen bases so far this season. Not going. His catch is the inside corner. One ball, 1 strike. The Mets in this swing against the West, both at Shea out here on the West Coast, 7 wins, 5 defeats.
You know, before the season started, everybody said the Western Division of the National League was superior to the East. Hasn't been that way on paper. The East has beaten the West badly.
Coleman, a big fake. Jeffries gets jammed. Fly ball to center. Biff Roberts has it for the first out.
Number 10, Steve McAdoo, first base.
When you're at the plate, it's tough to tell with Jeffries whether he's aggravated at one thing or another because he shows so much emotion all the time. But sometimes when Vince Coleman makes that break like that, it almost, if you pick it up out of the corner of your eye, a good hitter does, you think Coleman is going. Sometimes it's almost an automatic reaction. If you have a strike, you try to protect that. You know the infielders are going to be moving. Might be able to ball into a hole. Makes you a little more aggressive. I always liked it. I always liked it when I knew the guy was going.
Did you?
But I used to dislike it and used to talk to the base stealers and say, look, you want to go, I'll give you a pitch to go. I'll take a strike. But once I get a strike on myself, I don't want you faking. I don't want you to fake like you're going to go.
Used to bother me tremendously.
Because I picked it up all the time, and I thought they would be going, and I'd be trying to protect it, hit the opposite way, or it was a breaking ball. Sometimes try to pull it in the hole.
That's a distraction to see that runner moving around because you lose your concentration on picking up the ball from the pitcher. One time Eddie Stanky stood behind the pitcher and waved his arms up and down, jumped around. they made him stop doing it. It's not permissible anymore. He was the defensive second baseman at the time.
Coleman, another fake.
It's not so bad if you're a left-hand batter. You can't pick him up. But if you're a right-hand batter, it's tough when the guy's moving around at first base.
Magadan with the ball. He has already walked earlier in the game. Coleman going. Here's the throw from the catcher. Out, says Doug Harvey. Excellent throw by the catcher Lampkin. But what a close play.
Well, this is a perfect throw. Lampkin has a good reputation for throwing. The Mets stole 2 already in this game, but that throw is right into Coleman. A tag made by Fernandez, the shortstop. Coleman actually tagged himself out as he slides into the ball. Perfect throw by Tom Lampkin, the catcher.
Coleman thrown out for the 6th time this year. Magadan questioning something. Center fielder Bibb Roberts was, I guess, throwing something off the field. 2 down, a ball and a strike to Magadan. Nobody on. They're playing him deep in the infield and to pull a little bit. They're giving him up the middle. It's unusual.
Second baseman very deep and shaded over toward first. As you can see that big hole up the middle. Magadan hits the ball straight away.
There is a big hole up the middle. Way inside. Whitson may have said, I'm going to go inside all day on Magadan. I want you to play him the pull. That's the only thing you can think about.
It's a good way to pitch Magadan. He likes the ball away from him. He likes to go the other way, and you got to crowd him. Make him change his approach to hit him.
2-2. Fastball way out of the zone. Full count. Outfield, even though there is 2 outs, awfully deep for Magadan. Way inside. Second walk of the game, and again he takes over the league lead in walks.
25th walk this year.
Shortstop, Howard Johnson.
4th issued by Whitson, who normally has outstanding control. Brings up a very hot hitter, Howard Johnson.
Ojo a double his first time up. And he got struck out on a very good changeup by Ed Whitson. Fly ball down a left field line, slicing out of play. Strike 1. I'm almost a little surprised they're holding Magadan on at first base. There's the change. This time not in the strike zone. 1-1.
Especially with a pitcher like Whitson. Whitson throws a lot of off-speed pitches, which Johnson would definitely pull. He is extremely fast with his bat.
Just doesn't make any sense. Magadan really not a base stealer at all. There's another off-speed pitch. He is fooling Howard heavily on those balls.
See him way out in front. He's so far out in front he has to let go with his top hand.
Try that fastball in. Gets it out over the plate, but Howard Johnson misses it. Magadan was running on the play. The left fielder Thomas Howard gets it for the 3rd out of the inning. That's strand 1, and on the Chevrolet scoreboard, it's the Mets 2 and the Padres nothing.
Tonight, Sports Channel begins its coverage of the NHL Stanley Cup Finals with Game 1 between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Minnesota North Stars. The National Hockey League Finals tonight at 7:30, live and exclusive on Sports Channel. And how about those North Stars?
Two interesting teams in the finals going for the cup. Scott Coolbaugh takes a strike from Dwight Gooden. Doctor, 4 strikeouts in the walk in this game. Struck out the last 2 batters with Griffin Howard in the previous inning. Good breaking ball, 0-2. Coolbaugh last night, a couple of hits. 3 for 6 in this series with an RBI. One ball, 2 strikes. Strike 3 called by Tom Hallion. Doctor has that Lord Charles working tonight.
Best curveball in the National League.
Strikeout number 5, 3 in a row. All Coolbaugh can say is, I can't hit it. Tom Lampkin takes ball 1. Benito Santiago has had some success against Doc Gooden. I guess a day game after a night game, they're trying to keep Benito as strong as they can. Lampkin, the left-handed hitter.
How can you not be strong playing in this kind of weather?
I understand, Ralph. It has not been tough. Greg Riddick deciding to give his ace catcher a rest. There's a strike by the Doc. 2 balls, 1 strike, 1 out. Also, you have to look at it on the other side of the fence too. It's an opportunity, although a tough one for Lampkin to get some at bats. Three and 1.
Back in the 4th inning with runners at first and second and nobody out. Gooden got Gwynn to ground out to the second baseman. Good play on the ball by her, and then he faced Fred McGriff, the hottest batter in the National League. They pitched to McGriff, and he did strike him out. We mentioned at the time that Howard and Coolbaugh were behind McGriff. He struck them out too.
Tough play, and it can't be made by Jeffries. Lampkin with a little dunking single on the left field line. Here's a look at it.
Well, Jeffrey's having all kinds of problems with the sun and unable to handle that. There's no wind here in this ballpark. Strictly sun. He doesn't pick it up well. Doesn't even get the glove in the ball. And that'll be a base hit. The second given up by Gooden. Both of the hits were to the opposite field.
That brings up Paul Ferries. Strike 1.
Ferries robbed of a base hit his first time out. The only legitimate ball hit hard in this game. Magada made a great play on a drive that was to his right on the ground.
Fouled off out of play. 0-2. Tommy Herr, one of the best second basemen in baseball in this one area, Ralph. He does not get too close to second base when it is a double play situation. A lot of second basemen have that tendency to move too close to the bag and create a gigantic hole between first and second. Herr does not do that. I think that's positive.
It is
He's
definitely
a veteran.
positive.
He's a veteran. Knows what he's doing. This time he comes up and in to try to stop Mr. Ferries from leaning out over that dish. That might accomplish that. A ball and 2 strikes. Ferries 0 for 6 against the Mets this year. Ground ball up the middle. Herr has it. Tag second. Over to first. Nice double play by the Mets. They'll end the bottom of the 5th inning. It's still 2-0. Mets over the Padres. McReynolds cannot check his swing. Strike one. Whitson, another good breaking ball. We're in the top of the 6th inning. Mets ahead 2-0. Inside, 1-1. McReynolds an RBI single in the 3rd. He also pop up the 2nd with men on 2nd and 3rd in the 1st. Fouled back. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Degrees, but that's in the sun. In the shade, it's about 70.
Fly ball down the left field line. Drifting back is Thomas Howard. And he has it for the 1st out. All I can tell you is we showed that weather vane, something like a weather vane, in honor of our compadre, Fran Healy. He'll be back in the 7th inning.
He's more comfortable in San Francisco where the wind blows and that weather vane swings back and forth.
Change in a heartbeat. Another off-speed pitch for strike. Now Boston falls behind 0-1. Boston 0 for 2. He has popped up both times. This time a little soft grounder back to Whitson. 2 down.
Fran Healy is the proponent of the definite maybe school to
definite maybe. You got it.
That's right.
I guarantee you that it might happen. Tommy Herr has walked and grounded out. He's also scored a run and stolen a base. Strike one. Whitson getting ahead of the hitters. Early on when the Mets scored, it was not that way. Just catching the inside corner. 1-1. Mets have an off day tomorrow in the 3-game series in Los Angeles. Just outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. We'll bring you that game on Friday night right here on Sports Channel. It'll be Viola against Morgan. Both guys going for their 5th win. Strike 3 called. Herr doesn't like it. Hallion says it's a strike. 3 up, 3 down in the top of the 6th inning. Mets still ahead by 2. We'll be back after these messages. At Jack Murphy Stadium, you see, nice crowd, nice day. Mets leading 2-0. And Whitson will lead it off for the Padres. The doctor has given up only 2 hits. He has struck out 5. Whitson was one of them his first time up. Big swing and a miss. Strike 1. That's an official pitcher's hack right there. I don't care where you throw it, I'm going to swing at it.
Never throw a high fastball to a country boy or a pitcher.
Look at this little loop for a single. Whitson, the 3rd hit of the game, and a leadoff single.
Whitson 1 for 18 before this swing. A little chopper, and he gets it in front of the right fielder, Boston. And the leadoff batter is on. 2nd time in this game for the Padres.
Bip Roberts 1 for 2 has a single and a stolen base. Magadan playing behind Whitson. Now he's coming back in. Got a guy with the bunting ability of Bip Roberts. You might as well. Jeffries in at 3rd. Line shot, but slicing foul down the left field line. 0-1 to Bip Roberts.
Roberts, the only man to bat 400 on artificial turf. It's hard to believe But he has averaged 400 on artificial turf last year. 16 years of compiling stats, and the only one to do that.
Is that right?
They've always said that there will be a 400 batter because of artificial turf, but he's the only one that's done it.
It's an awfully big swing for a leadoff hitter. No balls, 2 strikes. Roberts has shown some power to left field. He does move the ball with a little bit of authority now and then. Swing and a miss. The doctor gets him. Strikeout number 6 for Doc.
You know, I think of all the hitters that I've seen on artificial turf, the man who took the best advantage of it, at least for one season, was Joe Torre, who batted .363 one year, bouncing balls through the middle on artificial turf on his home field.
When I think of guys that took advantage of it with 2 strikes and forcing that ball through the middle, I think of Simmons, the catcher in St. Louis, and I think of Greg Luzinski. Little tap at a short. Chance for the old DP. Nope. They decided they weren't going for it.
Neither of those fellows were fast, or neither of the 3. If you bring in Joe Torre, he could run it all.
Fielder's choice for Tony Fernandez. Surprise there that there was no throw to first round.
Well, I guess they figured that they couldn't get Fernandez, who gets down the line that well. Ball wasn't hit that hard, but they did give up on the play. They're a lot better at determining where that runner is down the line than we are.
I don't know, we got a pretty good view of it up here.
Yeah, but
to see the whole play.
Instinct comes in, and I got to go with Tommy Hurry. He knows what he's doing out there.
We have Tony Gwynn at the plate. Fernandez back at first. Two down. And the Padres trailing by 2 runs. The Mets trying to catch the Pirates. Pirates have been amazing this year, even with a struggling Doug Drabek. A 1-6 Doug Drabek.
How about Barry Bonds not hitting a lick? MVP last year. Drabek having a terrible season, and they're in first place. Van Slyke's off, and he is doing all right.
Well, they've acquired pitchers like Zane Smith. Zane Smith, since early August last year, 11 wins, 3 losses. That's some job. Ball 1, 1-0.
Zane Smith, a man who pitches in a hurry, and you would think pitchers would look at a fellow like that and say, hey, if you pitch in a hurry, it might help your team, it might help me. But you see pitchers taking more and more and more time on the mound.
Quick throw to first by O'Brien. Fernandez back easily. 2 balls, no strikes to Tony Gwynn. Last time he was in this situation, 2 balls and no strikes. Had men in scoring position. First and second. He went after a bad pitch. Pitch you should not swing at when you're way ahead in the count. See what happens here. Fastball up, 3-0. Gwynn has a home run in this series. He had a 2-run shot his first at bat in this series.
His only home run of the year.
It's a 3-0 count. We'll see if he's swinging. Taking all the way, strike 1. Two down. Gwynn looking a long time at Bruce Kim at third base. He's got to be swinging the bat right now. He's the tie and run. The best hitters in baseball on a 3-1 count.
Just definitely don't want him taking.
There goes Tony Fernandez. Gwynn fouls it off. The Padres will do it again at 3-2, and Tony Fernandez will take off again. Magadan, that's the guy he is. Now he's getting behind the runner. Big Fred McGriff, man in the on-deck circle. There goes a runner. Line shot, base hit to center field. Fernandez turns second. They're holding him. Everybody, now he's coming and he's going to score because of the soft toss in by the center fielder Coleman. They thought about it for a second, but Coleman, after he dropped the ball, went after it quickly, but then he soft tossed it. Excellent base running by the Padres.
Well, let's look at it again. Coleman bobbles the ball in the outfield, picks it up. They are holding the runner at third, but when he sees the throw come into second base, he goes on in. And Fernandez steals a run against the New York Mets. Coleman throwing in the second base to hold the time run at first, which is not that bad a play, but the execution on the bobble allowed the runner to come in to score. We're in the 6th inning, so you got to be thinking more about the runner at first base than the runner at third, but that still not executed well.
Outfield extremely deep, and rightly so. Gwynn leading off at first, McGriff at the plate. Strike. 1-1. I would imagine on that dropping of the ball, they have not charged an error. There is an error by the Mets.
It should be charged in an error, because if the ball hadn't been bobbled, he could not have scored.
It has to be an error there, Ralph.
Yeah.
Good stop by O'Brien. 2 balls and a strike. And the runner definitely would not have.
Now they have charged that as an error.
Okay. So the second error of the season for Vince Coleman. Good, trying to keep Tony Gwynn a little bit closer to first base. There goes Gwynn. Ground ball to first. Magadan will take it himself. That's around of the inning. The Padres strand 1, but they score 1. Some awfully good base running by Tony Fernandez. After 6, the Mets 2, the Padres 1. Off of the Mets in the top of the 7th inning. They lead 2-1. Here's Francis Xavier Healy.
Okay, Rusty, and we wanted to update everybody with those tans. We opened the show. There's a line drive, base hit, left field. And a great play by Howard. O'Brien going for 2. He's got it. Thomas Howard made a fine play, keeping that ball from rolling all the way to the wall, but good heads-up base running by Charlie O'Brien, his 2nd hit of the game.
You see the play. Nice stop. Gets up. The throw is a little bit offline. Kind of an awkward slide, but it looks pretty now at the end. Just a little point of the foot on the outside corner of the bag. Almost looked like a little pirouette move.
He did a nice job getting down there, didn't he? So Charlie O'Brien on second base, and the batter will be the doctor, Dwight Gooden. He's talking to Mike Covich.
He says, Mike, I'm going to drive this guy in.
Forget that bunt.
Covich said, you're going to bunt him over. He says, come on, I want to hit.
Well, Doc had his last home run against Ed Whitson.
See if they use any kind of rotation play here.
Doc fouls it off. He has attempted now 4 times at bunting the ball, and that's the closest he comes.
Whitson, a pretty agile guy on the mound. That's why when you have a really good fielding pitcher, you don't have to do as many rotation plays, because he's going to bounce off and cover that third base side awfully well. McGriff charging heavily at first.
0-1 on Gooden. He squares again. This time he puts the ball in play. Whitson will go to first. Charlie O'Brien hustling over to third. So the doctor executing the sacrifice. Will they squeeze now?
This is the third sacrifice of the year for Gooden. Got the bat out. It was a little bit of a jab at the ball, but he got it right on the edge of the bat, which is one of the more important issues. The ball died a little bit. Whitson said, I'm going to take the out. The infield will have to either coming in.
Charlie O'Brien on third base, one man down, the batter Vince Coleman. He had a bunt base hit his first time up. He's 1 for 2. He's also walked. Lampkin blocks the ball. 1-0. This is a crucial time for a pitcher to have confidence in his catcher. If you don't have confidence in your catcher, you're not going to fool around with all of your pitches. You will only throw the ones you can control the best. If you have confidence, you can throw that slip pitch. There's a strike. 1-1.
Coleman again not liking the call of an umpire. He's been taking an awful lot of pitches on the outside part of the plate. I have to admit that one pitch in San Francisco looked like a poor call. Here's a look at this one. It's not a bad pitch. The pitcher's pitch. I don't know if you were behind the plate, Mr. Healy. You'd be calling that a strike all day.
You better believe it. 1-2 on Coleman. I'll tell you, as a hitter, if they called a strike on you on that pitch, of course you didn't argue with the umpire much.
No, I was standing up on the dish. I would have hit it.
Saw Charlie O'Brien. Coleman puts the ball in play. Base hit. O'Brien scores. 3-1 Mets. RBI single for Vince Coleman.
You talk about those infield being drawn in. When they are, it's a tremendous advantage if you put the ball in play. First baseman Fred McGriff just out of reach. Breaking ball, makes some contact. Ticked his glove, but he could not knock it down.
Charlie O'Brien scoring the run. So Charlie O'Brien 2 hits, an RBI, and a run scored. Whitson checking Coleman. Coleman was thrown out his last time on first base. Perfect throw from Lampkin. Greg Jeffries with an infield hit. There goes Coleman. He could steal third base. He had such a big jump right there. He stole second base like he was mad.
They never stopped him. He was rolling out of the pit. Had a good jump. Stolen base number 22. The throw from Lampkin this time on the left field side of the bag. He could have thrown it right on the bag that time. Coleman was going to be safe.
You're going to watch Coleman again. Here's the 1-0 pitch up high to Jeffries. 2-0. 3-1 if you just tuned in the Sports Channel. Beautiful afternoon in Southern California. We're in San Diego. After the ball game, the Mets will head to L.A. Day off tomorrow, and then a game on Friday night to catch all the action right here on Sports Channel. 2-0 pitch is a strike. 2-1. We're happy to be with you this afternoon. Hope you're enjoying the ball game. Mets with an opportunity to win the series with a victory here. There's a ground ball up the middle, base hit. Coleman should score easily. Roberts wisely will get the ball into second base, and it's now 4-1 New York.
Speed, a definite factor on the New York Mets now. Off-speed pitch. Jeffries goes back through the middle. Didn't pull off that ball. It was good execution.
They mentioned speed. The first run was scored after Tommy Herr walked, stole second base. Charlie O'Brien drove him in. That was in the second inning. In the third inning, Greg Jeffries, as they checked the first, beat out a ground ball right to Tony Fernandez. Stole second base, and Kevin McReynolds drove him in. Speed a factor on this Mets ball club this year. Maggot in the batter. Takes a strike. I'll tell you another thing. Dave Magadan hitting right here in this situation. It's a pretty good situation to steal base because he's going to work you down into the count. 0-1 pitch. 1-1. 4-1. The Mets on top of the Padres.
Padres have, looks like Rodriguez throwing down in the bullpen. It's either Rodriguez or, yep, Rosenberg.
One and one. There goes Jeffries. He had a huge jump. Jeffries reminds me a little bit of Hojo when attempting to steal a base. They both have great acceleration from the standstill position. One and two on Dave Magadan. Nice crowd on hand. Sun-drenched afternoon. Whoa! There's a ball.
Take a look at that one. Excuse me. I don't want you diving out over the dish, he said.
Well, it's 2-2. Magadan 0 for 1. He's walked twice. They checked Jeffries at first base.
San Francisco Giants, who had lost 4 in a row to this date, finally snuck in the victory over the Phillies today.
But it could be a Pyrrhic victory. They lost Kevin Mitchell.
Yep.
I'm not sure how long. So, along with the victory came a major casualty.
He hurt his right ankle, twisted it.
2-2 pitch. A drive to left field. Way back. And Howard watches the home run off the bat of Dave Magadan. 6-1 New York.
The opposite way. That ball jumped out of here. Really tagged it. Ball out over the plate. Good contact. He's watching it. That means he knows he's hit it pretty good.
Back to live action. Howard Johnson with an 0-1 count. One man down. The Mets tattooing Ed Whitson. Here in the 7th inning, they picked up 4 runs. Hojo swings through the pitch for a strike. 0-2.
Remember, on a 2-strike, 1-ball count, Whitson came in hard and knocked Magadan off the plate.
Sometimes
that's an awfully good answer to a knockback.
Sometimes you don't want to wake anybody up, especially a guy like Dave Magadan. Hojo strikes out. 2 down. Speaking of Dave Magadan, how about the way he's handling the glove around first base?
Left fielder.
I always felt it was kind of a bad rap. He was a guy that didn't really have a chance to play all the time. You cannot be an excellent first baseman, especially when it's not your normal position.
Kevin McReynolds, the batter. He hits a drive to deep left field. Howard going back. Home run. Kevin McReynolds. 7-1 New York.
Going to come out. This will be one of the days, and he goes home. He'll be driving home in the car, and he said, I left him out there 1 inning too long.
The horse is already out of the barn.
Whitson had given up 7 home runs coming into this game in his 7 starts. So he's given up 2 in this inning. That's 9.
Are you done, Russ?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this call to the bullpen is sponsored by New York Telephone, who reminds you we are all connected.
Back in Jack Murphy. Kevin McReynolds hitting the second home run in this inning. Here's a look at it. Everything together. Eye on the ball. Southfield better watch it. That ball's going to come back in a hurry to decapitate you coming back at you. I'm not kidding. Hubie Brooks saying, well, we got an off day, but it's flying out of here. Steve Rosenberg on the mound for the San Diego Padres, an 0-0 record, a 2.08 earned run average. It is his 6th game. 4 1/3 innings. He has given up 3 hits. He has walked 1 and struck out 1. In that short period of time, he does have a couple of wild pitches too. So,
well, he'll face Darryl Boston right now. We're in the top of the 7th inning. The roof has caved in on the Padres. The Mets pick up 5 runs. They've hit 2 home runs, 1 by Dave Magadan in this inning and 1 by Kevin McReynolds. 7-1 New York. Boston takes a strike. He's 0 for 3. After that 3-game series in Los Angeles, the Mets go back home. Right back up the middle. Ferris makes the play and gets Boston at first base. So Paul Ferris makes the play, scored 4-3. That'll do it for the Mets here in the 7th. But they pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 runs. We played 7.5. 7-1 New York.
Nobody beats the Wiz scoreboard. St. Louis defeated Cincinnati 8-2. Chicago over Atlanta 6-1. San Francisco beat Philadelphia 4-2. Pittsburgh will be at Houston. Montreal at Los Angeles. In the American League, no one playing this afternoon. It'll be California at New York, Oakland at Baltimore, Chicago at Boston, Kansas City at Toronto, Seattle at Cleveland, Detroit at Texas, and Milwaukee at Minnesota.
Okay, Rusty, 7-1. Mets on top of the Padres, and Timmy Tuffle at second base, replacing Tommy Herr, who sprained his ankle earlier in the ball game. And the Mets with a 7-1 lead. As I mentioned before, after the ball game, the Mets will head up to L.A., play 3 against the Dodgers, then back to Shea. They'll play the Chicago Cubs 3 games, and then the Cubs will be followed by the Cardinals. So 6 big games coming up at Shea Stadium. One on Thomas Howard. Howard 0 for 2, grounded back to Gooden and struck out. Outside to Howard, 1-1. Fred McGriff in this ball game 0 for 3. The reason I mentioned McGriff 0 for 3. There is a battle going on between McGriff and Gooden ever since high school. McGriff, from what the doctor tells me, won a lot of the battles. Way inside to Howard, 2-1. Might add a friendly battle.
McGriff going 2 for 2 off Gooden in the game in New York. The doctor has come back and said, I'm not real happy with that.
Popped up and out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes. While we have a moment, I'd like to remind you the family of Budweiser Beers is proud of all the friendships they've helped make. So when they remind you to know when to say when, it's all in the name of friendship. There's a strike right there. Good pitch. Rusty would argue that pitch if he was hitting. Mr. Howard is heading back to the dugout.
Gooden just catching the inside corner.
Nice catch by O'Brien. Give the catcher a little bit of credit on that pitch. Well, Ryan's having a nice afternoon.
I thought I was giving Gooden pretty good credit.
Oh yeah, he threw it. But those smooth hands of a catcher brings the ball in. Cool ball, the batter. He's 0 for 2. He takes up high. Ball 1. John Costello throwing in the Padre bullpen. Line drive base hit. So Scott Coolball picking up his first hit of the afternoon. Let's talk about Charlie O'Brien. What a great way to spend an afternoon. You catch him back good, and he's pitching an outstanding game. Charlie's got a couple hits. I tell you, watching Charlie O'Brien when I was off for those 3 innings, watching him throw the ball to second base on an attempted steal. He is quick, strong throwing arm.
There's no doubt about the physical talent defensively. If he wants to catch in the big leagues, he's going to have to do more of what he's done today. That is swing that lumber.
I agree with you. Tom Lampkin, the batter. He's 1 for 2. Young Padre catcher takes a strike. Lampkin, the backup catcher to Benito Santiago. Being a backup catcher in a situation like this, he could last a long time here in San Diego if he doesn't outprice himself. I mean, you're not going to do a whole lot of catching. Benito's going to catch most of the games. His credentials offensively in the minor leagues have been just okay. There's a strike, 0-2. Remember the old days when you'd have a backup catcher last for 20 years?
Could happen.
Just get a hope. When you're a backup catcher, you get a hope for a real good #1 catcher so you don't get overexposed. The 0-2 pitch. Didn't swing. 1-2.
Lampkin in '89 hit .321 at Colorado Springs. And last year he was at Colorado Springs, San Diego, and Las Vegas.
Colorado Springs to Cleveland Indian farm system. Swung on and missed. Lampkin goes back to the dugout. 2 down.
Second baseman.
Strikeout number 8 for Gooden. That's what you call being fooled. Looking for the ball inside. It's outside, a little Taylor. A little something off of it.
Paul Ferry's the batter. Down low, ball 1. Controlled by Jay Horowitz, public relations man for the New York Mets. That Tommy Herr left the ball game because his ankle was tight, not small. 1-0 pitch to Ferris. Checks his swing. Ground ball to second base. And that'll do it for the Pods. Here in the bottom of the 7th, they fail to score. They strand a runner. And on the Sherwin-Williams scoreboard, at the end of 7, 7-1 New York. Here at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, California. Padres losing to the Mets 7-1. Padres have their work cut out from building this ball club up. Joe McElvain signed out here as the new general manager. But there are some names in the lineup the past few days we're not familiar with. As you look at the sun worshipers here in San Diego.
Leading off the Mets. Second baseman, Tim Cowell.
So Timmy Tuffle, his first at bat today. Leading off, will be followed by Charlie O'Brien and then Dwight Gooden.
I'll tell you a little bit of credit to the fans. They lost some of them when the Mets had the big 5-run 7th inning, but a lot of the people have stayed to watch this game.
A lot of New Yorkers, transplanted New Yorkers at this ballpark. Tuffle takes a strike from Rosenberg. Shot at some of the faithful still here. Outside, 1 ball and 1 strike.
When you get an injury like Tommy Herr, one of the most important things you have to do is to ice it down. The first 48 hours after an injury, that is so important.
How about this right here? Base hit. You take a swing like that when you're going down to first base, you're thanking the Lord.
Well, Tuffle's had kind of a rough start.
Catcher Charlie O'Brien.
That might be one of the things that gets him going.
And now today's headlines from the new sports section of the New York Times. Aaron speaks critically with Vincent on remarks about hiring. Vindication for North Stars Bobby Clark. And sticks and stones and words that really can hurt sports. That's from the headlines of the new sports section of the New York Times. 1-0 on Charlie O'Brien, who's 2 for 3. There's a strike. Of course, tomorrow, how about one of the headlines in the New York Times will be Bill Parcells' resignation.
A lot of talk about that right now. It's not been confirmed, but we just got a statement that he has confirmed it. He let the cat right out of the old bag. He's history.
He's
going to come up into the booth and be as crazy as you and I. This guy doesn't know what he's doing to himself. He thinks he hit it rough on the field.
Oh, boy. 2-1 pitch. Hey, how about this? Three hits in today's game for Charlie O'Brien. Three for 4 for the Met catcher.
Nobody out, a 6-run lead. Gooden looking intently at Mike Cubbage. If he smashes his bat on home plate, that means he's got the bunt. He's looking hard again.
Would you have him bunt?
Yeah.
Just to watch him break his bat. Huh?
Stranger things have happened in game. This is a situation where put the guys in play.
He's going to bunt it, I believe. It looks like he's. Well, let's see what happens. Runners on first and second. Top of the 8th inning. 7-1 New York. The doctor is squaring to bunt. Down low, ball 1. Maybe a little, but he feels a little practice during a game.
Doc's looking hard. He's saying, Michael, don't give it to me.
No. The doc wants
I want to hack.
He wants to take a shot at that wall out there.
He just checked the third baseman.
2-0. Would you take it off?
Rosenberg, the pitcher, worrying as much about getting off the mound quickly and forgetting that he's got to throw strikes. Young pitchers have a tendency to do that. I would keep the pressure on. I would still have him bunt. Doc gave him the big turnaround, saw McGriff charge all the way in. It's a good thing Rosenberg threw that pitch inside.
2-1 on the Doc.
It should be an automatic play that if the bunt is on and the rotation play starts, shortstop runs to third, that automatically the bunt is off and you do what Gooden did, a butcher boy. That time the shortstop stayed in his position, but McGriff was down his throat.
2 balls and 1 strike on the doctor. Nobody out. We're in the 8th inning. The Mets have a comfortable 7-1 lead. Mets have positioned themselves to win this series, to be the second series they won out here on the West Coast. Outside, 3-1.
Cubbage giving the signs.
Lampkin out to talk to Rosenberg. He almost turned his ankle jogging out to the mound. What's going on?
Here comes Rourke, the pitching coach. He's going to come out and say, do not aim this ball.
Lampkin, I guess, didn't see him. He went back behind the plate. Usually when the pitching coach comes to the mound, even if you're starting back to the plate, it's a courtesy. You kind of go back to the mound and listen to him.
Nobody getting up in the bullpen. So it's not a delay in which he's trying to let someone loosen up.
Doc's going down to plead his case with Mike Cubbage. Mike looking into the dugout.
Doc says McGriff's way down my throat and I hit it by him.
3-1 at a doctor. Things have slowed down since the Mets picked up 4 runs. Checked that 5 runs in the 7th inning. The 3-1 pitch. Line drive, great play, Ferris. Ferris makes a fine play.
Gooden hitting away, gets the fastball, and he hits a shot. Nice play by Ferries. And a quick throw. Doubles off Tuffle at second. It's a Cardinal rule with nobody out not to get caught on a line drive. Darrell Boston have something to talk about in his Kangaroo court.
Well, he'll find himself. Coleman puts the ball in play. Score this one 4-3, and that'll do it for the Mets here in the 8th. They failed to score after getting the first 2 hitters aboard. And after 7.5 on a Sherwin-Williams scoreboard here in San Diego, it's Mets 7, Padres 1.
It's manager Bud Harrelson once you won his 1992 team at Ultimate Week, the Mets fantasy camp, where next February we'll be celebrating the 30th anniversary of Mets baseball. You can play ball with many of the greatest names in Met history, from the amazing Mets of '62 to the miracle Mets of '69 to the '86 world champions. Good playing skills are not required. All you have to be is at least 30 years old. But don't delay, space is limited. For more information and a free brochure, call 800-525-METS. That's 800-525-METS.
Hey fans, nobody beats the Wiz, and the New York Mets are celebrating the Mets of past and present with a commemorative set of baseball cards featuring every player ever to play with the ball club. Saturday, May 25th is commemorative card day number 1, and when the Mets take on the Cardinals at 1:40 p.m., all fans will receive the first 150 cards of the set, courtesy of Nobody Beats the Wiz and Fisher. Call 718-507-0303 to reserve your tickets, or 718-507-TIXX for more information. Join the celebration today. You'll be on those cards, huh, Russ?
I have no idea, Francis. We're going to have a pinch hitter. Templeton will come to the plate and hit for the pitcher, Steve Rosenberg.
Leading up on the Padres, batting for the pitcher, Rosenberg, number 1.
Sure, you'll be featured on those cards. Of course, when you get off the elevator on the 4th floor near the Diamond Club in the charcoal room, they have the bust of the gentlemen who have been inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame. Of course, Joan Payson is also in that display. That's a nice display up on the 4th level at Shea Stadium. Gary Templeton, the batter, pops the ball to center field. Should be a can of corn. And it is. 1 down.
Paid attendance 27,219. For everybody who wants to know that, write it in their little book.
Must be a big thrill to get off that elevator and take a look at that thing, huh?
It is a great honor to be there, Francis.
You know, you're the only one up there. You know, I think the eyes move on yours.
That's only when you're walking through. I'm keeping an eye on you just like I do in the booth.
Well, the batter now, Bip Roberts. Up high. Ball 1. Of course, you and Buddy Harrelson went in the same year. First 2 players to be inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame. I'm sure it's quite an honor.
That it was.
Swung on and missed. 1-1. One pitch. Fouled back. 1-2.
There are hitters in a situation like this, down 7-1, who lose their at-bats, that don't really grind it out in these types of games. Obviously, Bip Roberts is not one of them, trying hard to get to Gooden. It's really important to never give in to that pitcher.
Foul out of play. So we'll do it again at 1-2.
Giving up at-bats is one of the worst things a hitter can ever do. Number of times the pitcher is going to get you out because of his talent is enough. Not getting yourself out with any regularity is one thing that separates the really good hitters from the guys that just kind of stay around. Nothing personal.
I didn't take it personally either. Up high to Bip Roberts, 2-2. I can take the heat. 2 balls and 2 strikes on the Padres center fielder. Fouls another ball out of play. I thought Ralph hit it right in the nose early in the game. He said this is one of the best kept secrets in baseball. Bip Roberts.
309 last year. Awfully good offensive player. Improved defensive skills.
2-2 pitch. Ground ball to third. Jeffries to first. In time. Scored 5-3. 2 down.
Shortstop, Tony Fernandez.
So 2 men down here in the bottom of the 8th inning, and Tony Fernandez will be the batter. He struck out, walked, and reached on the fielder's choice. And there's a base hit in the right field. So Fernandez picking up his first hit of the game.
Right fielder, Tony Gwynn.
Gooden retired the first 9 batters of the game, and it was a single by Bip Roberts in the 4th that got the Padres at least a slanted line in the hit column.
Tony Gwynn the batter. He takes a strike from the dock, winning this ball game 1-for-3. Student of hitting. He has compiled a tremendous library of videotapes. He studies not only his own swing but other great hitters. Down low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Was not a pleasant season last season for Tony Gwynn. He was the subject of some criticism from some teammates. Supposedly those teammates are no longer with the ball club. And the 1-1 pitch. Ground ball is short. Ojo takes it himself, and that'll do it for the Padres. Here in the bottom of the 8th, they fail to score a 3-run runner after 8 here in San Diego. It's been all New York, and we'll be back.
Rodriguez on the mound for the Padres. A 1-1 record, a 3.20 earned run average. It's his 16th game. In 19 2/3 innings, he has given up 20 hits. He has walked 14, which is a lot, and struck out only 7. That is a terrible ratio. 14 walks, 7 strikeouts.
And the batter now, Greg Jeffries. He'll be followed by Dave Magadan and then Howard Johnson. Jeffries in this ball game with 2 hits, an infield hit, and a single to center field. Takes down low, ball 1. It's been all Mets, 7-1. Rubber game of this 3-game series. Then it's up to play the Dodgers over the weekend. Catch all the action Friday night on Sports Channel. There's Jeffries' 3rd hit of the game.
Biggest thing about Jeffries, the majority of his hits, he's been struggling pulling off the ball, swinging at some bad pitches, being underneath the ball. Now going back through the middle, getting a stroke. Ted Williams used to always talk about that. When you're struggling, got to try to go back through the middle. All of a sudden, he's got 3 hits in a ball game.
Dave Magadan will be the batter. He takes a strike. Jeffries got it going today offensively when he hit a ground ball to the shortstop. Right to him and beat it out. Good hustle by Jeffries. Good infield hit. Magadan takes down low. 1-1. One ball and 1 strike on the Met first baseman. The home run his last time up, drove the ball after being brushed back. He got up and hit a home run over the left field wall. 2-run dinger. Takes a strike. One and two on Dave Magadan. That's a good pitch right there. One down.
Let's take a look at it. We've talked about Magadan taking a lot of pitches on the outside portion of the plate, not thinking they're strikes. You see his reaction. Can't believe he's striking out this often. It's probably something that has really not happened to him in his life before.
Well, Howard Johnson will be the batter.
When you're not covering the plate like that, you got to move up on the dish a little bit.
Fouled off.
Get up in the fire. You got to be able to cover the plate. If the umpires are consistently calling you out on third strikes or you're not getting to the pitch, you've got to adjust.
Oh, 0-1 on Howard Johnson. He pops his baby up. McGriff calling for it. Darice also calling for it. He makes a stabbing catch. That's when you stab at the ball, Rusty.
I'll tell you one thing. This will make a couple of films. I don't know how to do it. They're both looking at each other.
Number 22, left fielder Kevin McReynolds.
Amazing he didn't twist his ankle trying to catch that the way he went at that.
Well, there are 2 men down. Wasn't pretty, but he got the job done. Here's Kevin McReynolds, who homered his last time up. He's 2 for 4 in today's game. 0-1 on Big Mac. Fouls the ball off, trying to go the other way. And there's last year's Rolaids Relief Man of the Year, John Franco.
He's an off day tomorrow. Franco getting some throwing in.
The 0-2 pitch is popped up. There's some room over there. McGriff, nice play. Fred McGriff catching the ball in foul territory, and that'll do it for the Mets here tonight. But we're going to the Padres' last chance. Mets out in front. We'll be back. Fred McGriff, the batter. He's 0 for 3 against his rival from Tampa, Florida, the Doctor. Let's see how he fares right now. This will be his last at bat. Bottom of the 9th inning. It's been all Mets, 7-1. New York on top of the Padres. McGriff takes down low, ball 1.
A lot of credit to the Mets pitching in this series. They have held McGriff completely silent.
And he was red hot when the Mets were coming into town. There's a strike, 1-1. You can go ahead and challenge him right now.
Absolutely.
1-1 pitch. Down low, 2-1.
Came into this game 8 home runs and 18 RBIs. It was in a 19-game stretch.
3-1.
You're wearing out, Doc. Here comes the meatball.
There's a shot. Tuffle gloves it to Magadan. McGriff 0 for 4 on the afternoon against the Doctor.
It's a rough afternoon. You haven't had a hit in the series. Last time up, you get a 3-1 count. You hit a rocket. Second baseman picks you clean.
I used to hate to.
Stay with him, pal. Get him in the next series.
And that's the last thing you want to hear when you walk into the dugout. Hang with him.
Yeah.
Howard to Howard to Magadan. Scored 6-3. 2 down.
Number 12, third baseman,
Doctor,
Scott
in pursuit of a complete game, he needs 1 more out. Scott Coolbog, the batter. He's 1 for 3. Grounded to second, struck out, and singled. Fouls the ball out of play, strike 1. On the Padre third baseman. A lot of new names in this Padre dugout. The 0-1 pitch. Right back up the middle, and he has 2 hits on the afternoon. So Scott Coolbog on first base. And the batter will be the catcher, Tom Lampkin.
Coolbog 7 for 17 since coming up from the minor leagues.
This has been a long afternoon for the Padres. Facing Gooden. Gooden in his last outing got tattooed up in San Francisco. This should do it. Howard Johnson flips to Timmy Tuffle, and the ball game is over. Doctor being congratulated by his catcher Charlie O'Brien. A lot of Met fans here staying to the final out. Buddy Harrelson has to be happy. The second series on his West Coast trip that his ball club has won. So the Mets playing good baseball out in the West Coast, which is surprising, Mr. Staub.
I don't think it's so surprising as it is that it's good. It's the fact that the Mets knew that they had a bad homestand. They were going out on a trip to the West Coast, and that's a vulnerable time. You never know what's going to happen. They have responded well so far.
Yeah, so Buddy congratulating number 16, Doc Gooden. Doc talking to Doug Harvey about his move to first. Once again, the final score, 7-1. Mets 7 runs, 13 hits, 1 error. Padres 1 run, 7 hits, no errors, and we'll be back. At Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, California. It's all over. 7-1. The Mets on top of the Padres, and we're talking about this West Coast swing. And the Mets now are victorious in 2 series. And of course, they have the last series up in LA. But Buddy Harrelson coming out to the West Coast said we usually don't fare well on the West Coast.
I think last year the Mets played poorly on the West Coast. There was a stretch for about 3 or 4 years where they really did a fine job coming out here. In the last couple of years, there have been some questions as to whether or not the Mets were taking the West Coast trip as serious as they should. The golf clubs coming out, the wives, the kids, going to SeaWorld. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, it's the truth. Some people were very concerned on whether or not they were worried about playing baseball during these trips. This has been a good trip for Buddy Harrelson and his club. 2 out of 3 in both cities. Especially a victory like this, a dominant victory to end the 3-game set here in San Diego. An off day coming up. It'll be a good off day for the guys.
It should be, and this has been obviously a big series for the Mets. Coming out of San Francisco, they lose the first game in San Francisco with the doctor on the mound. Not a good sign. They come back, they win 2 games in San Francisco. They show up in San Diego, lose the first game, come back and win the next 2, with the doctor winning the final game. That's uplifting going to Los Angeles.
Well, it has to be. There have been some very good things happen here, especially the offense today. But the Bud play of the game this year is really not going to be about offense. It's going to be about defense. There were some plays. Tony Gwynn here hitting a little ground ball on first and second. Tommy Herr coming over. Watch this, just with the glove. A little flip. Magadan gets him, and that starts a series of plays. You got 1 out, men on second and third. Gooden with very good breaking ball gets him a Griff on strikes, and then Thomas Howard will also be struck out by Gooden, this time with the fastball. And that's our grouping of the Budweiser play of the game. We'll be back after these words.
Well, back here once again at Jack Murphy Stadium. If you're a Met fan, you're very happy because the Mets just won the series against the Padres. And now they're 2 for 2 in winning series out here in the West Coast. As we mentioned earlier, they will go to L.A. after the game, where they'll play Friday night. You can catch all the action right here on Sports Channel. Then game Saturday and Sunday. Then back to New York against the Chicago Cubs.
They'll be back against the Eastern Division. This 16-game run against the West. The Mets have fared well so far. We've just talked about the first 2 games of this series. It'll be Frank Viola against Mike Morgan, both guys going for the victory on Friday night.
Well, now we're going to tell you who our Texaco star of the game is, and there he is right there, Charlie O'Brien. Here's his RBI single in the second inning, and he had a 3-hit afternoon and also caught a masterpiece. So congratulations to the Met catcher, Charlie O'Brien, the Texaco star of the game.
And fans, after every game this season, points will be awarded to Mets pitchers for the AT&T Long Distance Award. Here's how it works. For every inning pitched, you get a point. We'll also add in the fractions. If a pitcher is credited with a complete game, he gets a bonus point. At the end of the season, the man on top wins the AT&T Long Distance Award, and $10,000 will be given to the charity of the player's choice.
So that's our AT&T award. And of course, we talked about Charlie O'Brien. He caught an excellent ball game. Of course, it's a lot easier to catch an excellent ball game when you have the doctor pitching.
It was a good tandem today. Also a very good thing, Greg Jeffries getting a few hits in the ball game. Really, you got to get this offense kick-started, and a day like today might be the thing that can do it.
Well, once again, a final score here in San Diego, 7-1. The Mets on top of the Padres. Remember, tonight at 7:30, Sports Channel begins its coverage of the NHL Finals with Game 1 between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Minnesota North Stars. The Mets are back on Sports Channel Friday night, as we just told you, at 10:30 when they visit Darryl Strawberry and the LA Dodgers. Coming up next is Thoroughbred Action. This is Fran Healy for Rusty Staub and Ralph Conner saying so long until Friday, and thanks for watching Mets baseball on Sports Channel.